The Baal Shem Tov once visited the city of Snitin, where he was greeted at the entrance to the city by a very wealthy businessman. This businessman wanted to be the first person to welcome in the Baal Shem Tov and requested that he ride in his carriage with him. Baal Shem Tov looked at this man's exquisite carriage. With a soft smile across his face, he said, "I'm sorry, I cannot ride in your carriage. I can only ride in mine." The Baal Shem Tov later explained to his students that this whole episode reminded him of a time when he visited the city of a very well-known rabbi, the one that wrote the book Merkevet HaMishneh, and that in the city also lived a very proud and wealthy man who used to argue with the rabbi all the time. And this argumentative man once showed up to the Suda Shlishit of the Baal Shem Tov, a very special meal he used to host. And at this meal, the Baal Shem Tov explained to all the people of the city this very nice parable of a king that decreed he was looking for a doctor to find a specific cure. And whichever doctor had his cure, he would give them all the riches he had. So doctors came forward and asked, "What are you looking for? What do you need the cure for?" He said, "I want the elixir of life. I want to live forever." So came forward one doctor and said, "I can guarantee you 1 year of life, but that's the best I can do." The king said, "It's not good enough." So came forward other doctors and said, "We have a medicine that will give you 10 years of life guaranteed, but that's all that we can do." Still, the king said, "That's not what I want." Finally came forward a poor man and said, "I have what you're looking for." Excitedly, the king asked, "Okay, what's the cure?" The poor man said, "If you seek to live forever, you will live a life of humility. You'll be humble." The king loved his answer. He immediately appointed this poor man to be his physician, to overlook all his actions. And he started with the regimen immediately, to try and act humbly. And he was doing great, exemplifying all his pure, humble characteristics. The next day was the time for the king to make his usual trip around the country and see that everything was in order. His carriage was waiting outside, and with his physician at his side, the king walked out of the palace, and he saw his carriage standing there. So he thought to himself, "Okay, I have to be humble." So he told his carriage driver to go ahead, and the king started walking behind the carriage. He looked at his doctor for a sign of approval, but saw that his doctor said, "This isn't it. This isn't good at all. If you wanted to be humble, you would have gotten into your carriage, but sat there humbly. This is how you're truly humble in your own heart." It's very hard, but a very good way to be. Immediately, the students of the Baal Shem Tov understood what their Rebbe was saying, that it's a very difficult thing to sit in a wealthy carriage and act humbly. And that's why the Baal Shem Tov chose to instead sit in his plain carriage. Shavua Tov.